यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपाद श्रील प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय O my Lord, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udhirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vasudev, the author. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavater uttatma shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By attendance in class on Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to a pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and with service into the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. In the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalitam Shri Vishakham Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhobhya Evaja Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatam ham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your attendance in the class of Srimad Bhagavatam. And now we are on Canto 8, chapter number 2. And today we will be going through verses 20 to 33. And yes, and then we will be deep diving into verse number 20. So we can start one by one with the translations, please.
The leader of the elephants who lived in the forest of the mountain Trikuta once wandered towards the lake with his female elephants. He broke many plants, creepers, thickets, and trees, not caring for their piercing thorns.
Text 21. Simply by catching scent of that elephant, all the other elephants, the tigers, and the other ferocious animals, such as lions, rhinoceros, great serpents, and black and white sarthaks, fled in fear. The Chambari deer also fled.
Text 22. By the mercy of these innocent animals like the foxes, wolves, buffaloes, bears, boars, gobuchas, porcupines, monkeys, rabbits, the other deer and many other small animals loitered elsewhere in the forest. They were not afraid of it.
Surrounded by the herd's other elephants, including females, and followed by the young ones, Gajapati, the leader of the elephants, made Trikuta mountain tremble all around because of the weight of his body. He was perspiring, liquor dripped from his mouth, and his vision was overwhelmed by intoxication. He was being served by bumblebees who drank honey, and from a distance he could smell the dust of the lotus flowers, which was carried from the lake by the breeze. Thus, surrounded by his associates, who were afflicted by thirst, he soon arrived at the bank of the lake.
The king of the elephants entered the lake, bathed thoroughly, and was delivered of his fatigue, was relieved of his fatigue. Then, with the aid of his trunk, he drained the cold, clear nectarine water, which was mixed with the dust of lotus flowers and water lilies, until he was satisfied.
Like a human being who lacks spiritual knowledge and is too attached to the members of his family, the elephant, being illusioned by the external energy of Krishna, had his wives and children bathe and drink the water. Indeed, he raised water from the lake with his trunk and sprayed it over them. He did not mind the hard labor involved in this endeavor.
By the arrangement of providence, O king, a strong crocodile was angry at the elephant and attacked the elephant leg in the water. The elephant was certainly strong, and he tried his best to get free from this danger set by providence.
Thereafter, seeing Gajendra in that grave condition, his wives felt very, very sorry and began to cry. The other elephants wanted to help Gajendra, but because of the crocodile's great strength, they could not rescue him by grasping him from below.
30. O King Elephant and the crocodile fought in this way, putting one another in and out of the water. For 1,000 years, upon seeing the fight, the demigods were very surprised.
Text 13. Thereafter, because of being hurled into the water and fighting for many long years, the elephant became diminished in his mental, physical, and sensual strength. The crocodile, on the contrary, being an animal of the water, increased in enthusiasm, physical strength, and sensual power.
When the king of the elephants saw that he was under the clutches of the crocodile by the weight of providence and being embodied and circumstantially helpless, could not save himself from danger, he was extremely afraid of being killed. He consequently thought of for a long time and finally reached the following decision.
The other elephants, who were my friends and relatives, could not rescue me from this danger. What then to speak of my wives? They cannot do anything. It is by the will of providence that I have been attacked by this crocodile, and therefore I shall seek shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always the shelter of everyone, even of a great personalities.
Text 36. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly not known to everyone, but he is very powerful and influential. Therefore, although the serpent of eternal time, which is fearful in force and endlessly chases everyone, ready to swallow him, if one who fears this serpent seeks shelter of the Lord gives him protection. For even death runs away in fear of the Lord. I therefore surrender unto him, the great and powerful supreme authority, who is the actual shelter of everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. So while Prabhu brings up verse number 30, I just want to start with a quick question. How many of us here have been ever in a situation where we did not ask for that situation, right? We were thinking something else. We were like, okay, everything's under control. All is well, yeah. And we're like, okay, nice and happy, unperturbed, not worried about what the future holds. Suddenly there is something that we did not imagine in the wildest of our dreams. And we did not want that. We did not want to be in that spot. And worse, we're trying to call out to maybe, just call our family, friends, and at that moment, everybody decides to be busy or nobody's really able to help you. You feel more and more helpless and it's just draining your strength. Has it ever happened with anyone? Don't worry, we'll not make you share what happened. I'm sure almost like 90% of us here have been in that situation. And today is exactly what we are going to discuss. This is the theme of it. So without further ado, let's deep dive into verse number 30. So we'll do the Sanskrit first. Please repeat after me and then we can do one line per person. Tato gajendrasya mano balojasam Kalena dirghena mahana bhudvyaha Vikrasya manasya jale avasidato Viparyayo abhutasa kalam jalokasa. So maybe you can do one line per person.
Tato gajendrasya mano balojasam.
Tato gajendrasya mano balojasam.
Kalena dirghena mahan bhudavyaha.
Kalena dirghena mahana bhudavyaha.
Vikrasya manasya jale vasidato.
Vikrasya manasya jale vasidato.
Viparyayo abhut sakalam jalokashaha.
Viparyayo sakalam jalokashaha.
Tato gajendrasya manobalojasam.
Tato gajendrasya manobalojasam. Kalena dirghena mahanadbhutyaya.
Vikrasya manasya jale vasidato.
Vikrasya manasya jale vasidato.
Viprayo bhuta sakalam jalokasah.
Viparyo bhuta sakalam jalokasa.
Tato gajendrasya mano balojasam.
Tato gajendrasya manobalojasam.
Kalena dirghena mahan abhudavyaha.
Kalena dirghena mahan abhyudavyaha.
Vikrasya manasya jale vasidato.
Vikrasya manasya jale vasidato.
Viparyayo abhut sakalam jalayukush.
Viparyayo abhuta sakalam jalakasha.
Tato gajendrasya mano balojasam.
Tato gajendrasya manobalojasam.
Kalena dirghena mahan abhudvyaha.
Kalena dirghena mahana bhudvyaya.
Vikrasya manasya jale vasidato.
Vikrasya manasya jale avasidato.
Viparyayo bhuta sakalam jalokasa.
Viparyayo bhuta sakalam jalokasa.
Tato gajendra namo balojasam.
Tato gajendrasya manobalojasam.
Kalena dirghena mahan bhudavyaha.
Kalena dirghena mahana bhudvyaya. Let's do together. Vikramasya jale avasidato. Viparyayo abhuta sakalam jalokasa. Thank you. That was a phase 1. Phase 2 is where we talk about each Sanskrit and the synonym. So what we'll do is we'll recite it together. Tata thereafter. Gaja Indrasya of the king of the elephants. Mana of the strength, enthusiasm. Bala of the physical strength. Ojasam and the strength of the senses. Kalena because of years of fighting. Dirghena prolonged. Mahan great. Abhut became. Vyaya the expenditure. Vikrasamanasya who was pulled by the crocodile. Jale into the reduced mental, physical, and sensual strength. Viparya, the opposite. Both became. Sakalam, all of them. Jala, the crocodile is water. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thereafter, because of being pulled into the water and fighting for many long years, the elephant became diminished in his mental, physical, and sensual strength. The crocodile, on the contrary, being an animal of the water, increased in enthusiasm, physical strength, and sensual power. So, for reading the purport, we will just divide and conquer. Anyone born in January here?
No.
All of us are born in January? That's good. I know someone. Yes, please, go ahead.
In the fighting between the elephant and the crocodile, the difference was that although the elephant was extremely powerful, he was in a foreign place, in the water. During 1,000 years of fighting, he could not get any food, and under the circumstances, his bodily strength diminished. And because his bodily strength diminished, his mind also became weak, and his senses less powerful.
Thank you. Anyone born in Feb? Yes, Prabhu, go ahead.
The crocodile, however, being an animal of the water, had no difficulties. He was getting food and was therefore getting mental strength and sensual encouragement. Thus, while the elephant became reduced in strength, the crocodile became more and more powerful. Now, from this, we may take the lesson that in our fight with Maya, we should not be in a position in which our strength, enthusiasm, and senses will be enabled to fight vigorously.
Thank you. Any March born people here? Yes, please.
Our Krishna consciousness movement has actually declared war against the illusory energy in which all the living entities are rotting in a false understanding of civilization. The soldiers in this Krishna consciousness movement must always possess physical strength, enthusiasm, and sensual power. To keep themselves fit, they must therefore place themselves in a normal condition of life.
Thank you. April? Yes, please. Yes, whoever was born in April, go ahead.
He was also born.
What constitutes a normal condition will not be the same for everyone, and therefore there are divisions of varnashram: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Especially in this age, Kali Yuga, it is advised that no one takes sannyas. No one takes sannyas.
Yeah, we'll do the Sanskrit together. Asave medham gavalamham sannyasam pala paitrikam gavarena sutotpatim kalau pancha vivarjayet. Anyone born in May? Yes, please.
From this, we can understand that in this age, the sannyas ashram is forbidden because people are not strong. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us an example in taking sannyas at the age of 24 years. But even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya advised Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be extremely careful because he had taken sannyas at an early age.
June?
May still May.
Okay, go ahead.
Teaching we give embody sannyasa, but actually it is being experienced that they are not fit for sannyasa. There is no harm, however, if one thinks that he is unfit for sannyasa, if he is very much agitated sexually, he should go to the ashrama where sex is allowed, namely the Grihastha ashrama.
Thank you. June? July? August? Yes, August.
That one has been found to be very weak in one place does not mean that he should stop fighting the crocodile of Maya. One should take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna as well as Sri Gajendra do, and at the same time one can be a grihastha if he is satisfied with the sexual indulgence.
Thank you. September?
There is no need to give up the fight. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore recommended
Thank you, Prabhu. Venkatesh Prabhu, do you want to?
One may stay in whichever ashram is suitable for him. it is not essential that one takes sannyas.
Thank you. October? Yes, Prabhu.
If one is sexually agitated, can enter the grastashram, but one must continue fighting. Or one who is not in transcendental position to take sannyasa, artificially is not a very great credit.
Thank you. Prabhu?
No, I was in September.
Okay. November? And December. Yes, Prabhu. Go ahead.
If sannyas is not suitable, one may enter Grihastha ashram and fight Maya with great strength, but one should not give up the fighting and go away.
Jay, I think we got most of us covered here. Sorry if I didn't give a chance to anyone. And please excuse my voice. I'm just praying to Krishna that I'm able to speak for the next few minutes, just not keeping well. So we will keep it short and we will discuss today's verse in 3 main points. First is what happened, right? The what part of it. Okay? The what part of it, the story. Sorry. The second part is why. Why did it happen? And the third part will be so what? Like, what do we learn from it? Or what's in it for me? What is it that I need to take away from it? We'll do today's verse in these 3 bullet points. So we'll start with the what part. And as Monal Prabhu has beautifully described what this canto is about, G-O-L-D, we're dealing with the G part of it, which is chapters 1 through 4, Gajendra's prayers, right? Or Gajendra Moksha, in other words. So in a nutshell, there long ago, there was a beautiful place called Trikuta. Trikuta means 3 peaks, very beautiful mountains. And there was a very pristine lake, which is very difficult to pronounce, but there was a lake there. And in that lake, around that lake, there was the main character of this story, Gajendra. Gaja means elephant. He was around. And he was the king of that jungle. Usually lion is the king, but in this case, there's like, for a change, elephant is the king. And why? Because he was huge elephant, right? Usually if we see elephants, we already feel like they're humongous. We are nothing in front of them. Imagine he was even more huge than what we see today. And he was living there very peacefully with his family, with his other animals that were coexisting. There were no fights, there was no problem. Everything was very nicely going on. One day, it so happens, he decides to just get into the water of the lake, which is very difficult to pronounce. So he gets into the lake. It's more like a picnic, right? Like we do our semester end picnic. So even they deserve a little break. So he decided to do a little picnic with his family, with his wife and children and all of those. And there were other animals from the kingdom as well. And what happened was, when everything was going nice and smooth, when Gajendra entered this beautiful lake, suddenly he felt something. Hey, something's just not right. Something's catching hold of my foot. And then he sees there's a very ferocious crocodile who was also big. So most of us may have seen alligators or crocodiles. But again, that crocodile that we're talking about was huge and more ferocious, more dangerous. And he somehow caught hold of Gajendra's foot, putting him in the greatest peril, in a very difficult situation, very painful. And Gajendra, being such a powerful elephant, was putting all his might to free his paw or his foot from the mouth or the jaw of the crocodile. But in vain. It was just not working out. He was struggling very hard. And this is what this verse is about. That's what we started our class with, that question. Like, we've been put into that situation that we did not expect. And it's just getting worse. And the more we're trying, more the situation is slipping out of our hand. And seeing this, even his wife and children, obviously if he is the mightiest one and he can't protect himself, what can they do, right? They backed out. They were praying and they were sad for him, like, hey, let this not happen to him. But unfortunately, this is what happens. When we're stuck, we're all by ourselves. Or are we? Well, we might think that we're all by ourselves because our so-called friends, family, nobody is there to take care of us or to salvage the situation for us. We have to deal with it. And that's what Gajendra was trying to do, but in vain. Here in this verse, it's very beautiful. It said he was losing his physical, mental, and sensual strength. So see, one day goes bad at work or at school and we lose our mental health. We become frustrated. Imagine what he is going through, right? Being the king of the jungle, who's not able to save himself because of the situation. This is where the story is at. And just to give you a little spoiler of what happens next is, he remembers something from his past life, does that, offers a prayer to Lord Vishnu, who ultimately becomes satisfied by his prayers full of surrender. He comes there to save him and cuts off the crocodile's head with Sudarshan. But you'll see that in the upcoming chapter, so I don't want to go much into that. But yes, don't worry, the hero is not dying. Or I would say the hero is not vanishing. And there's a reason why I use that word. I'll come back to that. So this is what happens, and because the prayers that he's offered were so powerful, he just did not, he was thinking in terms of his spiritual duties and not really keeping it limited to his current situation, the current peril. He has not only that, but also said, may I also continue for spiritual strength and get back to that post where I can serve you. And this is what pleased Lord the most. The Lord comes, saves him. He comes on his Garuda to save him, and then seeing the Lord come, Gajendra very beautifully offers a lotus flower to the Lord, right? Patram pushpam phalam toyam, as we know. And that's it. That's the what part that we need to know. Now, what was the second part I said? Why this happened, right? Like, we feel so bad to see the main character in so much trouble, especially if they've been good. Like, what did he do to deserve this? So let's go a little back, let's rewind, So this is like the prequel of what we just discussed. Past life, two scenarios, okay? One scenario is where we have a king who is now slowly winding up his duties and, following the Vanaprastha following the Varnashram Dharma very carefully and getting into the Vanaprastha side, trying to tone down his material engagements and focus more on spirituality. When in doing so, there was a sage that came to visit him. His name was Agastya Rishi. And because this person was so much engaged in his meditation, he didn't get a chance to offer his obeisances. And that infuriated the sage, that you've done a Vaishnava aparadh, and I curse you. Okay, that's curse number one. There's one more thing involved. The story is happening because in the story there's a hero and a villain, and we discussed about the hero, so now let's discuss about the villain. So there was another Gandharva, a celestial being called Huhu. And he was having a great time. But what happened was, he was enjoying, and in that again, he may have pulled the leg or poked fun at or disrespected in a very mild way another rishi called Devala. And boom, there you go, another curse right there. So comparing those two curses, curse number one was for whom? King Indradyumna. He was sentenced to becoming an elephant in the next life. Though he felt sorry for what he had done, he took that as an opportunity. He did not get very disheartened. He was like, okay, sure, number one. And number two, we're talking about the villain here. Who's the villain? Crocodile. And what happened to the crocodile? He was a Gandharva, celestial being. Again, disrespected Rishi Devala. Curse. That, hey, next life, you may become a crocodile. And again, for these specific bodies, there's a reason. For example, for being elephant body, the sage said, well, you certainly don't know what is goodness or Vaishnav Sadachar. May you get into mode of ignorance. That's why a body like an elephant, where you'll not have any understanding of what your duties are. And here, the second case, he makes himself into a crocodile. These curses sound a little bit similar. So do we have any guesses here? In Bhagavatam, we have come across this, or maybe I would just say in Kartik Mas that just happened, there was some similar story. Does anyone want to share? Is that anyone comfortable? Yes, Prabhu.
The Arjuna trees.
Yes. Could you?
So they were actually enjoying in Ganga, like in Himalaya or what? I don't know. there, and Narad Muni happened to pass by, and still they were intoxicated, they were naked, they were not actually also wanting to cover their bodies. So Narad Muni cursed them that, you are not having respect for the sage, and you are not covering your bodies, so you may become priests. So yeah.
Great story, Prabhu. The names of those, they were Kuber's sons, yes. Manigriv and Nala Kubera. So they became those two Arjuna trees. But again, they were sad. Okay, they've committed a mistake. They accept the curse. But that's not the end. There is also like an antidote to this curse, and that will be Lord Krishna will personally deliver you. So they said, okay, we will be trees if Krishna is going to personally deliver us. So this aligns with the first story of Gajendra. Second story is where the crocodile, so actually this is more like the second story where the crocodile, the Gandharva was enjoying and Devala Rishi cursed him. And we have something similar happening. That's this is why we have the whole Bhagavatam. The first story. Does anyone have any guesses here? Like some sage came and he didn't get a chance to offer his obeisances. But let me tell you, in the story that I'm asking about, it's the other way around. So it happened with Parikshit Maharaj. Anyone wants to talk about it? Anyone wants to share?
Yeah, when Parikshit Maharaj was roving around the whole world, he became very thirsty, and he went to one place of a sage. But the sage was doing his tapasya, so he was not giving attention to Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj was very angry, and he threw a dead snake onto him. But when he went outside, he felt guilty, and then the son of the Brahman, so he gave curse to Parikshit Maharaj that you will be going to die in 7 days. But he ended up getting Bhagavatam. He got Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami.
None other than Shukdev Goswami, live 7 days, fasting, right? And every single word was being absorbed like a sponge, because he knew that in 7 days it's the end. So he wound up everything material and great stories, Prabhu, right? So there are so many parallels in Bhagavatam, and this is, I find it personally interesting to learn it this way. When the theme is similar, it becomes easier to. So here we discuss like a total of 4 stories, right? That's so great. So that's the why part of it, as promised. And last few minutes, we'll discuss the so what part, like what's in it for me. Okay? Very first, learning, don't mess with the sages. Let's never commit Vaishnava Aparadh, right? Let's always be very respectful to Vaishnavas, to the Rishis, to the scriptures, to our Guru, because those are the sources of spiritual knowledge, the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service, right? So number 1 is always be respectful towards Vaishnavas. We also get to see here that even if those sages cursed, it was not because they were egoistic. It was because they wanted to teach them a lesson. And a guru is one who teaches via examples. And this is also, they're trying to be their teachers in some way by teaching them a lesson that how they should be careful at every step of, even if you're meditating, if there's a senior Vaishnava, if there's a Rishi that comes in, you have to offer the respects. So that's the very first learning. And there are a couple of other learnings as well for which we can use or take reference of the Bhagavad Gita. So let's look at them one by one. First and foremost, in Bhagavatam, I think I said this previously, but let me reiterate. These examples that we typically discuss are metaphors for something very profound, right? Like here, Gajendra represents all of us. And the water is the material world, where we are trying to rejoice, thinking everything is nice and acting as per our arrangements. But there is always the danger of crocodiles. And what is that crocodile?
Maya.
There's different interpretations to that. Yes, that's time. So if Gajendra was like, oh, I'm having the best time of my life, but no, it was being pulled down. And here we saw, in the water, crocodile is powerful. We don't have a say there. On the land, Gajendra might be the mightiest one. If the crocodile came, Gajendra would have smashed the skull, but no. In water, it's the other way around. Similarly, in the material world, we feel we are enjoying, but we don't know that the crocodile of time is pulling us by the feet. So there are many things that we want. Oh, they're perfect, everything's going on well. We want to maintain them or hold on to them. Like our youth, right? If we look very fresh and very beautiful, very handsome in our youth. So we're like, let this never fade away. I want to remain like this till I die. That's not going to happen. Your knowledge, your remembrance, forgetfulness, all of that. Krishna says in the 15th chapter, from me comes remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness, 15:15. So we have to be careful about that. And we can also look at the crocodile as a symbol of different types of danger or threefold material miseries that can set in, right? So what are the threefold material miseries starting from outside to inside? Adi Daivik, which is caused by demigods. Example?
Adi Daivik means the tsunamis and all.
Floods, tsunamis, volcano, at times naturally caused wildfires. Adi Bhautik. And Bhautik examples are?
Relatives, friends.
Yeah. Mosquitoes. Crocodiles. Snakes. Right? Anything, or maybe even those who we consider friend, but they are snakes.
Ugliness.
Right? Sorry?
Ugliness. Becomes ugly.
Ugly, yes. So, yes, anything surrounding us. Anything which is not caused by myself but by other living entity unto me. It could be an insect, it could be a microbe, it could be a bacteria, virus, or it could be a dinosaur. That's all Adi Bhautik. Nowadays, it's just mostly caused by other people. Animals unnecessarily don't interfere, right? If they, as a part of the food chain, as long as their hunger is satisfied, they're not going to go and bother. Like they say this thing about the lion. Lion will not unnecessarily hunt.
When it's hungry.
Yes, if you've visited those zoos or maybe even Gir forest in Gujarat, you might see lions lazing around because they're done. They're well fed. They're done for the day. They're not going to come and attack every random person. So we can learn so much from animals, but human beings, you never know. Like everything's going to, and snap, there's a quick attack, right? And the third one, is adhyatmic, which means from within. Can you give some examples? Depression and anxiety, the biggest killers of today. You get it? Disease, or what, like self-caused disease, like?
Self-caused disease, like cancer or anything that is happening from your body, that's not...
Obesity, like a lifestyle choice, right? Or diabetes or blood pressure.
It's because of external food or something?
It's a mix of, yeah, because you did not take certain precautions and then you got it. Or maybe it's very cold and you decide not to go out without a jacket. Something as simple as that, right? It's caused by you. It's caused by you. Or some self-inflicting, self-inflicted injuries or overthinking, all of that. Those are adhyatmic. So those, we can say that crocodile is around in so many different forms, right? All these material energies, time.
It's needed, none of us would have been here if we hadn't been through adversities in our life.
Sure.
Those were the adversities, a challenging situation which brought us closer to Krishna.
Very true. And that is why even that crocodile in this context is also required. Otherwise we would not have had a Gajendra Moksha, right? So all these things are put in place so as to teach us certain things. So we just discussed how we, the souls, are trapped in this material world, trying to enjoy, but we're actually being pulled by the effects of time and threefold material miseries. And of course the four defects, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Adi. What is that? Birth, old age, disease. Yeah. Nobody can overcome that. Apart from that, what other theme do we learn in this whole pastime? So we learn about the setting, right? We learn about who is what. What else do we learn from this pastime?
What to do.
What to do. Surrender. But before that, let's get one step before and why Krishna puts us in this situation, right? Because we say not a blade of grass moves without Krishna. So again, it's not that he has some personal grudge against us. It's just because when we start becoming overconfident, the teacher has to teach us a lesson that we'll remember for life and not commit those mistakes again, right? So, and Krishna chooses his sincere devotees to be examples to others at times as well. And they take it, they accept it. Even if it's a curse, they'll accept it, right? So, again, because Krishna says, from him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 15th shlok, or 15th verse. So, what does that mean? In this case also, that remembrance of what he had done, what Gajendra had done in the past life and offered those prayers, that came by Krishna's grace. And because of Krishna's grace, he could recite some of those prayers. And who came? Krishna came to save. So see, Krishna is everywhere. There is impossible to have an equation without Krishna being in it. And all he needs is our sincerity and our surrender. So the theme of this could be how we can perfectly adjust the adversities to think about Krishna. Gajendra could have said, well, I'm not thinking about Krishna right now. I have something to deal with. He would have been dead. Right? Same way, like we have so many different material commitments, and the first thing that we jeopardize or put aside is our spiritual life. We go like, oh, maybe I'll look into this later. I have certain important things to take care of. But this is the important thing.
Which part of this was the Bhakti? And he was being caught by the crocodile.
Sorry?
Which part of
Oh, it's coming later. It's in the next set of verses that we are just sort of doing a trailer for. So we should never take that thing for granted. Sanatan Goswami says that people who think they're materially happy, they're actually rejoicing for the fact that right now there is no distress. There is nothing called material happiness. That's our illusion. We are thinking everything is going nice, like I have a nice house that is paid off, I have a big maybe Rolls-Royce car. It's not happiness. It's like right now the things are working in my favor. Tomorrow I may not be so lucky. I will not be so lucky. Why even to say may not, right? So World Health Organization says health is not merely absence of disease. It's a state of complete physical, mental, emotional, social, psychological and spiritual well-being, not merely absence of disease. What we're doing is absence of distress, we feel it's material happiness. So Sanatan Goswami condemns that. Why? Because padam yat vipadam. What does that mean? Lord Brahma says that at every step there is danger. Like here, he didn't, nowadays also I've heard in Florida, I've seen this in Florida, people go and swim, right? There are so many beaches, but there are certain flags at times that sharks have been found in this area, do not enter. Gajendra was not so lucky. He did not have, beware, crocodiles found. Anytime he could get snapped by that crocodile. That's what precisely happened, right? So every step is a trap. We have to be very careful. And there is a similar verse by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 8 verse number 15. Dukkhalayam ashashvat. The material world is an exactly opposite. Like we do synonyms, there is an antonym of the spiritual world. Spiritual world is Sat Chit Ananda. So eternal, blissful and full of knowledge. Here it's full of ignorance, there is no bliss. On the contrary, there is distress and it's not eternal. It is ashashvatam, temporary. So we have to keep that in mind as we deal with things. So what to do? What do we learn from this? There are things which are in Nectar of Devotion. It's beautifully explained, and this has been derived from Hari Bhakti Vilas, 11th chapter. Do things which are favorable for devotion and give up those that are unfavorable. And one of those 6 items, these are 2, and the last one is the most important, surrender. And just don't surrender, have faith and then surrender. Like if Gajendra would not have had faith, the surrender is empty. It's a shallow thing that we are saying, oh, I surrender. But if we don't mean it, there is no result of that. Because we are talking about surrender, there are so many good examples. Like Bhakti Vinod Thakur's Sharanagati, like we recited last time, where Bhakti Vinod Thakur says to Krishna, Maro bhi rakhobi jo ichha tomar nitya dasa prati tuva adhikar, something like that. That if you want, you can kill me. If you want, you can keep me. I am your eternal servant and you can do what you want. Similarly, Mahaprabhu says in Shikshashtakam that you can embrace me lovingly or you can make me sad by not giving your darshan, but you will remain my worshipable Lord forever and ever. Mama janmani janmanishware. So that is surrender. What Prabhupada, when he came on Jalduta, facing those 3 heart attacks, and even when he came to New York, his living conditions were very suboptimal. And there were multiple cases where his belongings were stolen, or he had to run away from a certain spot because of hippies. They were breaking all things. So there was danger at every step. But just to fulfill the wishes of his guru, Prabhupada took that danger by surrendering himself to Krishna. He has written beautiful Jalduta prayers, which we also recited in the last class. where he says to Krishna, you're getting me here, so I surrender unto you. Do what you want, Draupadi, best example of surrender. She first tried to save herself, just like Gajendra first tried to save himself with all the with all the physical might and mental plans. Actually, in danger, even mental plans fail sometimes. We're not able to think. Have you seen that? We are in some situation, we don't know what to think. Usually we have so many good ideas, but that moment we don't get it. This is what is happening in this case as well. So Draupadi, Gajendra, there is common theme, surrender. So many examples. Prahlad Maharaj, he never prayed for his protection, that, oh, let me be alive and let my father. He never said that. He just kept himself devoted to the Smaranam aspect. Actually, all of the 9 aspects. Atma Nivedanam. He had given himself completely to Krishna. He had surrendered himself completely. Dhruva Maharaj, so many examples. Bhagavatam is full of those. So, in the interest of time, the key essence here is, if we surrender, we can make the best use or the best bargain of any bad situation. So, with that being said, thank you so much for your attention, and we'll use the last maybe 5 minutes for any questions, answers, realizations. Do you have any questions, realizations? Yes, please.
You mentioned about Draupadi.
Yes.
Since the lords of the earth were present in the assembly and everyone was there, the mighty husbands were there, and gurus were there, sadhus were there, shastras were there. Still, despite having all those things, you're helpless. Why is dharma so sublime and so complicated that despite having all the power, they were kind of, even Bhishma Pitama, who is Mahajan, he was just like a dummy and useless there. Drona was useless there, Dhritarashtra was useless, Dharmaraj Yudhishthir was useless. So why dharma kind of,
Yes,
everything so down?
Great question, Prabhu. Prabhu is saying, why did Draupadi have to encounter all this? Why is dharma so complicated, so strict, so hard, right? That best answer, 1866. Sarva dharmam parityajya mam ekam sharanam aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshishami masucha. Krishna says, give up all your, Prabhupada has used this word, give up all your nonsense. Whatever you think about occupation, just give up everything and surrender unto me. I shall deliver you. Do not fear. And when he says that, especially towards the end of the conversation, that is the takeaway message. Surrendering unto Krishna will not even we won't even have to think about why those other things are not working out. Because we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We should surrender with full faith, just like Gajendra had, just like Draupadi had. They had faith, and that is why the surrender becomes complete. Otherwise, like I said, it's like a shallow invocation.
Like it was mentioned, the varnas and the ashramas. All the ashramas have their prescribed duties as well. Based on your occupational duty, all the Pandavas were there. I mean, why? They were very well versed, or they had good knowledge of Vedas and all, and why their prescribed duties were so complicated, they were bound to them, they couldn't say their own way.
Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse number 13, Chaturvarnam, that where Krishna himself approves of the system of Varnashram, the constitutional duty based on your stages of life, or what is the other thing? Varna Ashram, your divisions or stages of life.
What I meant, they were following their ashrama as well as the Varna, they were Kshatriyas. Kshatriya's job is to protect when a woman is in disguise, right? I mean, when she was in such a complicated situation, and all the Kshatriyas, they were like, because of their occupational duty, they fought the battles too, and still, a Kshatriya, I mean, the entire Kshatriya, of this planet could not save a woman's dignity. So they failed the Varna ashrama system as well at the same time, if we see.
We could say that, but again, I would not use the word failed the Varnashram, because they stuck to the prescribed duties of that. They kept quiet because that was their duty. They could not object to the deal that was made. Like a Kshatriya is supposed to fight even when there's a opportunity presented to them. They cannot go back on that. They cannot deny that. So, but to your point, why they had to endure all of that, I personally don't have an answer to that. But all I could say is Krishna's plan. Right? Yes.
Can I add something?
Yes, sure.
Prabhu says this, Shilpa, he says...
Sorry to interrupt you, but we are on time. Is it okay if we speak? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually says, I don't know the entire shloka, he says, he says that I'm neither Brahmana and neither sannyasi or any of the varnas, but in the end, I'm just the servant of Lord Krishna. So I think even this example of Draupadi, where as you mentioned, that everyone, even the varna and ashrama goes down, but in the end, just by surrendering Lord Krishna, that she is able to, fulfill her primary duty, and that is how Krishna saves her. So that is one good example of it.
And it's very interesting we're speaking about this because towards the end of the pulpit, a very beautiful point is mentioned about Varnashram. And I will just give you a quick ISKCON related story here. So even when Prabhupada was physically present on the earth, there were cases when he received reports of certain sannyasi disciples getting married. I think we've also discussed this in one of the previous classes. And he did not object to that. In fact, there were other disciples that made a big fuss out of it. But Prabhupada said, if they are coming closer to Krishna by marrying or, having sex in a regulated manner as prescribed, let them go ahead. My main worry is that they should always think about Krishna. They should always serve Krishna. So I don't like the word fall down because they say, oh, sannyasis fell down into grace. No, that's Prabhupada said, don't do that. Don't make it difficult for them to continue serving Krishna. You should always keep that in mind. Adjusting to the situation that you're in a way that you can surrender to Krishna. Prabhu, you had your hand up. Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I had something to add. Yeah, I'm out of thoughts, but I think one main point I had is that always we try to be comfortable in this material world. Our aim is to get rid of all problems and be comfortable here. Actually, the aim is not to get comfortable here, but to get out of here. Yes. That is the whole point. So, everything that happens will happen because this is a place of misery. Krishna has rubber stamped this place as Dukhalayam Shashvatam. What do we expect here? Right?
And it will happen, and very beautifully, because whatever you said, whatever has to happen will happen. It's the will of providence. That line is mentioned in one of the translations here. And as the same example, you're in the prison. The prison guard is in good mood today. You're not going to go to him and say, can you put AC in my cell? Or can you give me a foam mattress or whatever. You'll just say, can I just get out of here? That's what our aim should be. This is already going to be a miserable place. Let's not try to make it more comfortable. Let's use the resources what we have, serve Krishna, and get out. You had a point to add?
I have a question actually.
Yes.
So Prabhupada says everybody should place themselves in a normal condition of life.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Everybody should place themselves
Yes.
in a normal condition of life and should always try to keep their bodily and mental strength strong. So how much can we apply this in terms of the material world is hard, but we should also still try to keep ourselves fit for Krishna?
Very, very beautiful question. How much of an endeavor should we put in? So in one line, do what is required. Do as much as it is required. Let's not try to overdo it and overcomplicate it, because we have the right to put in our input till a certain spot, but after that it's the will of the providence. Karmanya eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadacha. You have rights on the input that you can put in, and so long as you're convinced that you're doing it with utmost sincerity and as prescribed, you should be good. Because what happens later is not, we should not even think of that. We don't have a right. And then we should surrender whatever we have done unto Krishna as an offering, and he will take charge of it from there. If that answers your question. Yes, Prabhu.
I'd like to end up. So before that, I would like to add one thing.
Yes.
When it comes to Draupadi, the God gives his biggest responsibilities to the people who... There are so many scholars that we see here. They have so much struggle, like they've gone through a lot, like Prabhupada. That who can fulfill them, they will receive it. That much surrender. Even Draupadi is nothing. She can fulfill them, that's why she gets it. No question. So we have to see in that way. And when it's come to my question, I heard it from in Bhagavatam, we have different versions in every region. In my region, there is a great poet from my ancestors, they talk about him. His name is Kalidas. He says when it's come to Gajendra, So at the starting, like you said, like in the beginning, you said the prayers are not very like the prayers of Gajendra is not very like deep or very I mean like not very strong. That you mentioned in that.
No, I said he prayed whatever he could remember from what he had done in the past life. Yeah, but those prayers of Gajendra Moksha are the most intense thing ever. In fact, I was about to conclude by saying we should all recite Gajendra Moksha whenever we get a chance, because your eternal life is guaranteed. You see, any Maharaj, any Guru is sick, right? What does GBC release a notice? They say, okay, let's pray, let's chant more rounds for them, let's do Tulsi circumambulation, let's recite Gajendra Moksha. Because Lord has said to Gajendra that whoever recites these prayers of yours, or even thinks about this pastime, this lake, this mountain, shall be delivered. So it's very intense.
It has a Shruti.
Yes, it's very intense. So, correct.
One last thing.
Yes.
You said, providential
Yes.
plans. There was a conversation between Vidur and Dhritarashtra where Vidur had mentioned that because Dhritarashtra was mentioning his attachment as like whatever is happening, the dice came, Draupadi's insult, everything was providential. That's where Vidur says, it's like, I know everything is kind of desired, I mean everything is done by the Almighty, but at the same time, Almighty, I mean the Lord acts according to your free will. The actions always depend upon your free will, but the results of that, the results are providential. Actions are always kind of free will, and Krishna act according to that free will. But the results are providential, you cannot call the actions providential. And the same thing Krishna says when he goes with the peace agreement. This is like this war, I am not letting this war happen. This war is being done by Dhritarashtra himself, so it's not providential, it's by his free will
Choice.
that he is attached. The action is based on free will, but the results are providential now. That now it will happen and things will go like my way.
Very true. Choices, because we are also qualitatively similar to Krishna. Krishna gives us that one quality of free will. He does not interfere with that. And because of the free will, we wanted to enjoy the material world, and there we go. He did not. He knew the perils. But he sends people, he sends Hari Parshads like Prabhupada to make us aware that, hey, this is not the best bargain, but it's our free will. What do we do with that?
Providence and free will, they sometimes mix sense.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your engagement. I appreciate it. Hare Krishna.
Such a nice class, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
All glories to God.
Very